we've got the latest Chuck Lorre laugh track CBS entry, Be Positive, to review, along with some other reviews and some news as well. Let's get it started. Hey guys, thank you for joining me. My name is Dan. This is TV News and Reviews. Like I said, we've got the new Chuck Lorre show, Be Positive, to talk about, as well as 4 other new shows. Actually, some of them aren't completely new. Some are from earlier in 2020, but you know what? Things are kind of slowed up right now on the networks and even on the streamers as well due to the Hollywood shutdown the last few months. So I have a couple of shows that I just sort of missed along the way that are from earlier in 2020. So we'll talk about all of that. First, though, let's talk the news. Renewals and cancellations always comes first. And this week we're actually going to start with cancellations because there's only one, and that is The Outsider over on HBO. This is a show starring Cynthia Erivo. And its owner, MRC, said they are going to shop it to other networks, other streamers, so it may not be dead in the water completely, but it is at least dead over on HBO. I really liked this when I first saw it earlier this year. I think it was in January. I gave it a B+, so, you know, a good grade there. I never did end up following up with it and finishing it, but you know, there's only 10 episodes, so maybe something to go back to. I did think it was a little slow, but I still gave it that B+, so I must have really enjoyed it. And then as far as the renewals go, there's a lot of them, so I'll just go down the list here. Lego Masters on Fox, that is coming back for Season 2. No surprise there at all. It scored about 10 million viewers per episode, which is obviously huge in this day and age. Will Arnett is back to host, and, you know, fun little family program about Lego building, so that's great. Alex Rider is going to see a Season 2 on IMDb TV, which, A, haven't reviewed anything yet on IMDb TV, and 2, haven't reviewed this show yet either because it just premiered 2 days ago, so I will have that on next week's show. But it, I think, premiered over in England a little while ago. It's from England, so they're the ones who sort of are deciding whether to keep it or ditch it, but IMDb is going to be keeping it as well, so we can expect a Season 2 of that, and like I said, I'll review Season 1 for you, at least the first couple episodes next week. The Hot Zone over at Nat Geo. This is, it was supposed to be a limited run series that has now turned into an anthology. Each season will tackle a different topic. I don't actually know what Season 1 tackled. I didn't watch it, but Season 2 is going to tackle the anthrax scare in 2001 that came after 9/11. So that should be interesting. I guess it's like more of a docuseries than anything, but maybe it is a dramatic retelling. I'm not sure. And then 3 on Netflix, some biggies here too. So Emily in Paris is going to have Season 2. Critically, very, very divisive. It's in the 60% range on Rotten Tomatoes. I gave it like a C or a C+. It's okay, a lot of flaws, but I can see how it's also rather enjoyable. And Darren Star is producing that, so he's back for Season 2. And also, speaking of him, I didn't realize this, but so Younger, the show with Sutton Foster on TV Land, is the only show left on TV Land's roster that is original. They had, for a while, they had like Hot in Cleveland and the divorce show. What was that called? I forget. But like Fran Drescher was on it. And then there was one with Cedric the Entertainer. So they had like a few at one point, but now Younger's the only thing left. Darren Star created Younger as well. And I didn't realize this, but since this is the last season for Younger, they're trying to spin off the Hilary Duff character onto a different show. I don't know if that's going to be on TV Land or not, but either way, I really like Younger, so I'm excited to see anything that comes out of that, you know, those characters. So Hilary Duff, that would be cool. I'm sure we'll get to that, you know, if they actually make it to series. We'll review it here on the show, but I do like Younger. So the other two then, Space Force is back for Season 2, another pretty divisive one with Steve Carell. Obviously, you know, Netflix has a great relationship with him because of their reruns of The Office, and I didn't realize this, but he broke some records when he signed on for this show because he makes over $1 million an episode. And that's not just for the acting, but he's a co-creator and a producer as well. So he wears a few different hats. But I think the record being broken is that it was for a first season show. Obviously, we've had people make over $1 million an episode on other shows, but or maybe it broke the record for a streaming show. I don't know, but the article I read just said record-breaking $1 million. So I have the feeling it's because it's a first-season show. But then Umbrella Academy, that will be in for Season 3. That is really no shock. Umbrella Academy does very, very well for Netflix. A lot of people talk about it. Season 2, I think, much like The Boys over on Amazon, I think the viewers for Season 2 grew exponentially even from Season 1 on Umbrella Academy. So that will be back for Season 3. No surprise there. All right. So other than that, no specific reboots to talk about this week. I usually have at least one reboot in the works. Just a lot of just sort of odds and ends to talk about. A couple of reunions over on HBO Max have set dates now. The Fresh Prince reunion, which was filmed in September, it will be airing this week, November 19th. HBO Max will have that for you to stream. And not only is it the whole cast, obviously, except Uncle Phil, but apparently there's a big sit-down with Will Smith and the first Aunt Viv, who was, they sort of ended her career on the show very, contentiously, and so that should be interesting. I got the feeling maybe it was like a Red Table Talk sort of thing, but, he's sitting down with her and, I guess, mending fences. And then the Friends reunion that has been bandied about on HBO Max, that will finally be coming. There's still no date for it, but they're planning on for some time in March of 2021. Matthew Perry released that statement. So, I'm sorry, they're going to be filming it in March, and it will be on HBO Max in May, which is almost a year after the original one was supposed to air in June of this year. So, yeah, but they really want to get it right. They want to make sure everybody can actually be in the same room. That's kind of the whole point. Like, they could have just done it over Zoom, but it's kind of impersonal. I mean, the whole point was to see them on the recreated Central Perk set and all of that. So that will be airing in May. All right, some casting news. We've got Love Life. Speaking of HBO Max, we're still on there. Love Life, which starred Anna Kendrick in Season 1. I announced earlier that's going to be an anthology of sorts where it's going to be a different focal point every season. However, it's still going to be in the same world. So Kendrick's Darby character is going to appear sporadically in Season 2, but the main focus is going to be on a different character, and we finally revealed who that actor will be. It is William Jackson Harper, whose name you might not recognize, but if you watched The Good Place, he played Chidi. So great performance there. I'm excited to see what he will do next, and actually a lot of other people from The Good Place. Darcy Carden, I'm a big fan of hers now after that show, so it'd be interesting to see what she does next. But yeah, William Jackson Harper will lead Love Life, and then over on Apple TV Plus, you've got The Morning Show. Season 2 is gearing up to start filming at some point soon here, and they've got a new casting choice as well. Hassan Minhaj, who of course just came off of Patriot Act on Netflix. He's going to be on Season 2. No character listed yet. We don't know what exactly he's going to be doing, what he's going to be playing. But Morning Show, pretty good television. I mean, especially for like a soapy type show, it's one of the top-notch ones, I think. It's certainly a little soapy, not for everybody, but the acting on that show is just great. So I'm glad to see that. And then NBC is going to be returning to the staged productions for Christmas. They've done it many years now. I guess a bunch of them have. ABC, NBC, Fox. Some of them are live, and some of them are just sort of live to tape. And this one is going to be live to tape. They're going to do it in London, and it's going to be Dr. Seuss's Grinch musical, and Matthew Morrison from Glee is going to head that up. So I assume he's going to be playing the Grinch. And that will be filmed in London and aired on NBC December 9th. I do love the live stuff. I have not seen too many of them. I saw, let's see, Did I see Grease? No, I rented Grease and then I didn't watch it. I saw Hairspray for sure, and then I've seen definitely clips of Sound of Music. Little Mermaid just did not interest me. Didn't see that. I feel like I've seen one other one though, but I love the idea. You know, I'm a theater kid, so I love live theater. All of that is just very appealing to me, and I like Matthew Morrison too. So hopefully they do a good job on that. Speaking of NBC, they are picking up another Canadian export. They have Transplant on right now, which never would have aired if it wasn't for the pandemic. We never would have seen this show in the U.S. Probably most of us never would have even heard of it, but it is doing pretty well for NBC for all of the different networks that have picked up programming from other outlets in the pandemic. Transplant has done very well, so they're picking up another Canadian show along the same lines too. It's called Nurses, so obviously that's going to take place in a hospital as well, not to be confused with the NBC sitcom Nurses that used to air on Saturday nights alongside Golden Girls and Empty Nest, but that will air probably sometime in 2021. No date has been set yet for that, but it's a big enough hit in Canada that they've already renewed it for season 2. So if it's a big enough hit for NBC as well, they will probably run season 2 as well. Celebrity Wheel of Fortune, ABC continuing with the big game show themes, and they already have Celebrity Family Feud on there, and of course, God rest Alex Trebek's soul, but anytime they did Celebrity Jeopardy, it was a good time. And that was not a primetime show, that just aired in the regular Jeopardy slot, but this will be a primetime, hour-long ABC game show that they do. Pat Sajak and Vanna White will be there, and it's going to be just celebrities playing for charity. I think hopefully here the sort of the back and forth and the camaraderie between the contestants will be the winning factor here, because Wheel of Fortune is such an easy show. They don't have to sort of dumb it down for celebrities like they do for Millionaire and Jeopardy, I should say. Because you watch the Celebrity Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and it's like until they really get to like the $500,000 question, they're all fairly easy. But Wheel of Fortune is pretty basic as it is. So hopefully they get some good celebrities that have a nice back and forth with each other and with Pat. All right. So other than that, let's see. Okay. So this is a book that I read, which I like. I don't read books. I read like 2-3 books a year, but I went to the Spy Museum a few years ago and they had a bunch of books there, and this one seemed interesting. It's for young adults. It's like a middle school book, but it sounded interesting, and I read it. It's called The Mysterious Benedict Society, and it was really a fun book. I liked it a lot, and there's a whole series of them. This was the first one I read, but unbeknownst to me, there is a series of this coming, and it was originally going to be on Hulu, but they have moved it to Disney Plus. They're doing that whole shuffle around thing. We've seen Love, Victor, and High Fidelity move from Disney Plus to Hulu, which High Fidelity was very R-rated. I don't know how they were proposing to do that on Disney Plus. Love, Victor makes a little sense as well, because there are some more adult themes. But look, I mean, this book is about kids that are sort of detectives, and it reminds me of like a Spy Kids or something like that. So it makes a lot of sense to me that this would be on Disney Plus. And the only thing I really know about it, other than that it exists and that they're making it, is that Tony Hale is going to be one of the adult stars, as is Kristen Schaal. So a couple of high-profile comedy names attached to this, and again, that's called The Mysterious Benedict Society. Looking forward to that. And then finally, this is big news. Arnold Schwarzenegger is coming to television. His first ever television series that he is going to star in, and it's going to be on Netflix. It wasn't even shopped apparently to other outlets. It's Netflix only, and I don't know much about it yet. There's no title for it, but it's going to be a father-daughter spy series that takes place globally. So obviously some sort of action, world chase kind of show, and he will play the father of it. So very interesting. Arnold Schwarzenegger on, I don't want to say network television, I guess, but streaming television. It's his first ever series. So very, very interesting. All right, so let's get to the reviews. Like I said, we have 5 of them for you. We're going to talk about a couple of older ones. Tyler Perry's Young Dylan, which aired its finale a couple of weeks ago, but it started back in February before it was shut down by the pandemic, and they had to sort of shift some of the episodes to September and October. So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about Young Wallander over on Netflix, which is already renewed for season 2. I mentioned that either last week or the week before, and that aired back in September. It was on my list, and nobody was really talking about it, so I was like, this can kind of wait. And then I just never got to check it out. So we'll do that this week. And then 3 more recent ones as well: Blood of Zeus, Truth Seekers, and Be Positive. Let's start with the Chuck Lorre show, Be Positive. This is over on CBS, as almost all the Chuck Lorre shows are. The only one that's not is the Kaminsky Method. But that makes sense that it's not, because it is not a multi-camera show. It's not a laugh track show. It's not a studio audience show like all of the other Chuck Lorre shows. Of course, he's 2.5 Men. He's Big Bang Theory. But currently on the air, he still has Mom. He's got Bob Hart's Abishola is his, I believe. I guess he does Young Sheldon, technically, and that's not a single, or not a laugh track show either. But, that's far not the norm for Chuck Lorre. But Be Positive is the latest. It's actually the only show that got completed for a pilot before the pandemic shut things down, which is partially why it was sort of fast-tracked to the fall schedule. But it stars Thomas Middleditch, who you might know from Silicon Valley, Annalee Ashford, who I sort of recognized but didn't know too much about her. She does actually more Broadway stuff and theater stuff. She's got, Tony Awards and stuff like that. But she has done a couple of things I've seen recently, Unbelievable and Bad Education. She's also going to be a part of one of the new American Crime Story episodes, or seasons, I should say, on FX. And then also supporting here is Keith O'Donoghue, who was on... what was the FX series? You're the Worst. And then Sarah Rue, who we know from years and years of different TV shows. She's been, around all the time. She was in Rules of Engagement. That was kind of her latest real big thing that she did. But anyway, the basic premise is that this dude, who is a newly divorced man, he has a daughter, and he just found out he needs a kidney transplant, and he's got B positive blood, hence the name of the show. And also, obviously it's a mood, be positive. It's a mantra. And he can't really find a donor, but this woman from his past, played by Annalee Ashford, is willing to, donate her kidney. However, she's got, some addiction issues and all of this, and they haven't seen each other in 20 years, so they're sort of forging a new friendship. So I watched the first 2 episodes of this, which are the only ones that have aired so far. And I was all set to kind of give it a very middling grade, because the first episode, I could see some potential in the premise. I like the 2 lead actors, but I didn't laugh once in the pilot. So I'm like, all right, how is this going to go? So I watched the second episode, and it's not that stark of a difference, but I did laugh a couple of times. And the more we're getting to know these characters, I think the better the show is going to become. And that happens a lot of times with, sitcoms. You need to really, sink your teeth into the characters more so than just having funny lines. A lot of my favorite sitcoms are their best after season 4 or 5, when we really, really know these characters very well. So here, the characters are okay, but they're fairly basic. Middleditch's father character is basic. He's got a handful of people that are at his dialysis, not meeting, but where they go to get the dialysis, so his dialysis room or whatever, and they have distinct personalities, but they're still all very generic personalities. The one is the ball-busting woman who doesn't have time for dialysis because she's got a career, and then there's the former athlete who was kind of sidelined by having kidney failure and this and that. They're all kind of stock. But look, that's sort of the premise of Mom these days too. Mom started out more as the mother-daughter kind of thing, 3 generations of moms, but then after a while it turned into the AA show, and all the cast members mostly revolve around who's at the AA meetings. So whether or not that is what this is going to turn into, I don't know. But that's another Chuck Lorre show, so very possible. It's fine. It's fine for what it is. I think it's better than Bob Hart's Abishola for sure. And I really do like these two leads. They have good chemistry together. And what's great about it is you don't need to believe that they are best of friends yet, because they haven't seen each other on the show in 20 years. So they're sort of rekindling that sort of friendship as well from high school. So, and I don't even think they were friends in high school. I think they just kind of knew each other. So, premise-wise, I think it's okay. The actors are really good. The writing is a bit subpar. So the grade for me is still kind of middling on this show. I really would love to see a laugh track sitcom or studio audience sitcom that I can get behind that's new. I still watch Mom, and of course The Conners, is one of my favorite shows, and I liked the reboot of Will and Grace, but, these last couple shows are more, I think, great because of my nostalgia for them, that it's okay that it's a laugh track or a studio audience, because that's how it was originally. But I haven't seen a new laugh track show that I've really enjoyed in a while. I mean, Carol's second act was okay last year. The Cool Kids on Fox a few years ago was okay. And I'll watch the whole season for these shows, but I would say Abby's on NBC was the last real good one. That was maybe 3 seasons ago. And that only lasted 13 episodes, unfortunately. But every so often there'll be one. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, it seems like such a dated kind of way to do things. And I still watch a ton of old shows that have studio audiences. It doesn't bother me, but I don't know. I feel like every show has kind of run its course with the different characters and stuff. I guess I kind of liked Man with a Plan as well. I would probably have given that like a B- or something. I don't know, but a lot of times it is the actors that carry it through, and I think they did find some good leads for this show, so I'll give them credit for that. But for now, I will leave B positive with slightly less than a B. It's a C plus for me on that one. So up next, we will talk about Truth Seekers. This is over on Amazon Prime, and it is with Nick Frost and Simon Pegg. So if you like their brand of humor, the Shaun of the Dead stuff, Hot Fuzz, if you like them, if you like their sense of humor, I think you will probably enjoy this show. The basic premise is that the lead character is Gus, played by Nick Frost, and he's basically a broadband installer for this company called Smile Internet. But he's got sort of a side gig doing these paranormal investigations, and he has a video channel up with it. And he meets up with this new guy named Elton John. I still am not sure if his actual last name is John or if he just says that, but it's definitely Elton. But that's sort of, running gag in the first couple episodes. So he's like his new partner at Smile, and is also, really into the paranormal stuff. And then we have Simon Pegg playing the boss. He's only in it kind of sporadically, but he's one of the producers and one of the creators, so he's definitely got his hands in it. It's definitely a Simon Pegg production. And then we also have Malcolm McDowell as Gus's father-in-law, Richard, and a couple people as well. There's a young woman that sort of follows them around because she's haunted by ghosts. So we see a bunch of different people, but the main focus is really Gus and Elton, and every episode it seems like they meet a new sort of character that they're going to investigate for. So this is a pretty funny show. I mean, I don't think it is as like jaw-dropping hilarious as some of the movies. I actually never saw Shaun of the Dead, but I've seen Hot Fuzz, I've seen At World's End, and I've seen a couple of the other projects they've done, both together and separately. And Simon Pegg is very restrained as the boss. He's definitely not the far out one, which can work. I mean, I feel like, I don't know, him and Nick Frost, I feel like sort of go back and forth depending on what the script entails. They can both sort of be the straight man, and they can both be sort of the wacky one as well, depending on what the project is. But here, he's definitely more subdued, and Nick Frost's Gus is the more sort of outrageous one. And as we're following these guys, it reminded me a lot of like a Night Court type thing, where the main humor comes from the defendants that we see come through the courtroom every week. Here, I feel like a lot of the humor comes from the people that we're meeting and the paranormal stuff that comes out of those meetings. Episodically, the episodes are all, so far at least, to me, kind of standalone, so you can kind of pick it up wherever, but of course it's on a streamer, so you're likely going to watch them, straight through anyway, but I don't think you need to. I think, this sort of harkens back to when you could just pick up a show and watch an episode, which, for the most part, you don't have anymore. Even on networks, it's almost like almost every episode you really need to, like, okay, what happened last week on this show? They're not all the Good Place in that way, but even something like, The Unicorn or Superstore, has a long thread, in the episodes. So you do kind of want to watch them in order. But here, you don't really have to, I don't think. I mean, yeah, the first episode we're introduced to the Elton character. They're sort of getting their footing as a team, but I think it works either way, which I really like. I mean, that's not something we see very much anymore, and I love that. It's kind of funny. I don't think, like I said, it's not as knee-slapping hilarious as a lot of their other projects, but, again, maybe when we get to know the characters a little more, the humor will come. But you'd laugh more at their sort of delivery, that classic Nick Frost, British type of, like, sort of stammering a lot and that kind of thing. Works here. It's funny, as always. And Malcolm McDowell is great as the father. He's only in, I think, one scene per episode from the ones I've seen, but he adds a little bit of levity to it as well. Sort of the stoic father-in-law who thinks his son-in-law is an idiot. That sort of classic trope. I've certainly seen better paranormal investigative shows in the sitcom realm. I really liked that one Craig Robinson and Adam Scott did. I think it was called Ghosted. So this is not quite up to that level, but I certainly think it's enjoyable. And I think if you do like the Simon Pegg, Nick Frost combo, I think you'll enjoy Truth Seekers. I'm going to leave it with a B. Up next, we're going to talk about Blood of Zeus. This is an adult animated series on Netflix, and this premiered a couple of weeks ago. I think maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago now, so I'm a little behind on it. But, this is one I wasn't sure if I was going to review because this is certainly not my subject matter. I don't really care about Greek mythology. And not that I don't care, I guess. I don't know much about it. And the things I see about it are, I know sort of the basics, but nothing has really, like, popped out at me as being truly, like, amazing in that realm. I mean, I guess Thor is a, mythological character, so I guess what Marvel has done with Thor is sort of an exception to that, but this certainly is not that. This revolves around Heron, who is the demigod son of Zeus, and essentially the premise is he's trying to save Olympus and Earth, and he is actually a fake character, which I had to read about, because I had never heard of Heron, but like I said, when they do Jeopardy, categories with mythology, I always get, like, every single one wrong, so it was possible this was a real person I just never heard of, but no, this is Heron is made up for the show, actually, which I think is existence. But that his archetype is sort of, I guess, common in myth, sort of the demigod thing. But anyway, in the prologue, you see that we know about many of Greek mythology's stories and tales that have been handed down over the generations, but many, many have been lost, and here is one of the stories that's lost. And so that's sort of the premise of why we can get away with just creating, a new creature. And I don't really recognize any of the voice acting here. Derek Phillips, Jason O'Mara, Claudia Christian, Mamie Gummer, well, I know her, that's Meryl Streep's daughter, Jessica Henwick, Yeah, I mean, I don't know any of these other people. But, okay, hold on. I would know one more. She's pretty down the list, though, so she must be pretty minor. Melina Kanakarides. Remember her from Providence over on NBC back in the early 2000s? Anyway, look, this is not my kind of show. I admit that. But I watched 2 episodes of it. Give it the old college try here. There's 8 episodes total. And this is a series. It's not a limited run show, so this could come back for multiple seasons. It was in Netflix's top 10 for at least a week when it first came out, so it's got some sort of following. This is something that I don't really care about this, and I'll never finish watching it. But from an artistic standpoint, it's really good looking. I mean, the animation here is great, and this is not necessarily even my style of animation, but one thing that struck me immediately upon watching this is that the use of color and really absence of color. There are a lot of midnight blues and blood reds and black backdrops, and it's a very, very interesting looking show. Unlike most that I've seen, even in the sort of anime realm or adult animation. So it definitely gets points for that. It looks unlike anything else out there. And I think because of the storylines, because of the subject matter, not every show could pull off a dark palette like this, but it absolutely works for this show. And the voice acting is pretty good as well. I mean, we see, these people are really speaking like they would have at the time. It's a lot of, flowery language. And the design of the characters, I mean, they really do look very much like Greek gods, but in a statue-esque sort of way. Like they look similar to the David statue, for example, that I think Michelangelo did. And I think that really helps as well with the look of the show. And it also contrasts great because, they've got these piercing blue eyes and just, crystal white skin against this backdrop of darkness. It looks really, really cool. So I don't have much more to say about it. It's not for me, but I'm going to give it a high grade because I think on a technical aspect, it really, really hits a lot of these marks. And I think for people that are interested in this subject matter, I don't think you'll be disappointed. I mean, the only thing would be, if maybe you didn't like that they made up the lead character. But again, they sort of tackle that at the beginning in the prologue where they're like, well, this is one of the lost stories, so that's why you don't know who this person is. So I think they kind of make sense of it that way too. So it's with a caveat because I'm certainly never going to watch it again, but for what it is, I think it's a very well done show. Blood of Zeus gets a B+ from me. All right, so next we're going to talk about Young Wallander. This is on Netflix as well. Like I said earlier, this is something that debuted about 2 months ago, maybe a little more now. Let me see. Yeah, September 3rd. So this has been out for about 2.5 months, and just something that I had sort of taken interest in, but just sort of fell through the cracks as many shows do. And then last week when I announced it was renewed for a season 2, I figured, well, all right, now Netflix has got a hit on their hands. We may as well review it. So basically, this is taken from a series of novels back about 20 years ago, I guess. Henning Mankell is the person who wrote the Wallander novels, and he's a detective. And basically, I'd never heard of this, but apparently it's very big in certain countries, and Kenneth Branagh actually played Wallander a few years ago for, I think it was the BBC, but it was somewhere in England in a number of television movies. I don't think it was a series, but I think it was kind of like, not Masterpiece Theater, but what do they do over there in England with like the, like Luther's one? Like they'll have like 3 episodes, but they're like hour-and-a-half long episodes. I guess they do it with Sherlock over there too. So I think it was something along those lines with Kenneth Branagh. But so this is Young Wallander. So this takes a look at the history of the character. He's played by Adam Powelson, and essentially he is, a young detective dude, fresh on the beat, and he actually has some local ties to this very low income housing, let's say, the project basically, and he sort of becomes friends with some of these people, even though he's on the side of law, and he's hoping they can kind of help him catch some people while keeping their streets kind of safe, while also letting them sort of do their thing too and run their little scams and all of that. So there's a few problems with this right off the bat. Number one, I'm not sure 2020 is the time we need to see cops looking the other way at criminals. I don't know. And I said this before, I think it was LA's Finest when I reviewed that. It's like, I know these were, recorded before COVID and everything, and before the Black Lives Matter swell over the summer, but it's just bad optics. I just don't think we need those kinds of characters right now. Like, The Rookie on ABC, I feel like toes that kind of line, but you always get to kind of see it from the cop's perspective as well. So it's like, okay, you can see that he's doing this to help somebody. And young Wallander is certainly trying to help, these people as well. But it's like, I don't know if we need to see cops skirting the law at this point in time, But so that's number one. Number two, they purposely, set this in the present day. Whereas, if they did it like the Young Wallander timeline, it would be in the late 70s. And it's a Swedish-based show, I believe, or maybe Norwegian, but I think it's Swedish. And I think, personally, it would be very interesting to see it take place in the 70s, in that area, something that we don't really ever see on camera, Whereas now, okay, we've stuck this character into the present day, so we've rewritten the history of the character. I'm okay with that, but because of that, it plays like any old drama that you could watch on 50 different channels. There's nothing that really interesting about it, and I don't know if this is the way he was directed, but Paulson, man, every line is just like, it's a struggle to get out of his mouth because he's so just like laid back and like chill, and he's just gonna kind of mumble his lines. Like, I don't know if I can blame him or the directing or the writing or what, but he's a very, very unengaging character. I didn't really connect with him at all. So Young Wallander, I'm glad that it's coming back for season 2. I'm glad when anybody gets work and when any streamer finds a hit show on their hands. But boy, this one just left a lot to be desired. And I usually look at least the Rotten score to see what people are thinking, and it's a very middling score there too. So my guess is that a lot of people are not really digging the whole change of timeline type thing, and especially if Kenneth Branagh, who is, let's face it, one of the top theater actors and maybe cinema actors, of the last 20, 30 years. He's always a commanding presence. For him to play Wallander just a few years ago and then to give it to this nothing, for Young Wallander, it just didn't make any sense to me. So I leave Young Wallander with a C-. So finally we have a show on Nickelodeon. This is something that fell through the cracks for me. I didn't even realize it was on back in February, but they did a handful of episodes then, and then they had to shut down for the pandemic, and so they put the last 3 or 4 out. So the last 3 went in September and October, and it's called Tyler Perry's Young Dylan. You gotta say the Tyler Perry part in there, so everybody knows. And boy, oh boy, this is a mess of a show. So the basic premise is it's basically Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but for a little bit of a younger set. Essentially, young Dylan is this aspiring hip-hop artist. He's a kid. He's younger than Will Smith was by a few years. He's probably like I don't know, maybe 12 in this. His mother just doesn't come home one day, so his grandmother brings him over to his uncle and aunt's house so he can have some parental figures in his life, and his hip-hop style doesn't really gel with the Miles family. Or I guess Miles is the first name. I don't think we get last names, do we? Wilson. Okay, they're the Wilson family. So I do know the father in this is Carl Anthony Payne II, who played on Martin. I've been going through all the Martin seasons lately, so I recognize him. But everybody else is pretty much new. I mean, young Dylan is played by Dylan Gilmer. The other siblings are played by Selena Smith and Hero Hunter. And then the grandmother's played by Aloma Wright, who I feel like has probably been in like some other Tyler Perry stuff. Like she's probably in House of Pain or something like that. But she was on like Scrubs a little bit. I don't know. She's done like stuff here or there. But this is such a mess. First of all, the premise is a direct ripoff of Fresh Prince. I mean, why don't you just not have him be an aspiring hip-hop star? Like, that at least would be slightly different. I mean, I guess maybe the Fresh Prince himself wasn't an aspiring hip-hop star, but Will Smith was. So, like, same general, kind of premise there. So that's lazy. Number two, the laugh track on this, and I know sometimes on kid shows, I know sometimes the Disney Channel shows will overuse them, but this show, it's like every 1 to 2 lines gets a laugh track, and not only are the lines not funny, but like, first of all, it's a bit more of an adult show, I think, than most shows on Nickelodeon. I mean, the very first episode they talk about, oh, young Dylan's telling your son, where babies come from, and da-da-da-da-da. Oh, you told me the stork brings them. Never touch each other again. It's like, dude, I mean, if my 8-year-old nephew was watching this, I don't know if he knows where babies come from, Like, what could we not talk about that in this show? Like, what? So that's number one. Number two, the attitude on these characters. Young Dylan is a effing jerkwad. Like, I wanted to reach through and just grab him. Like, he's so annoying. And I don't think that's what you want. Like, I feel like there's a big difference between, like, the Fresh Prince was definitely annoying, to Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil, but in a different way. Like, this kid is basically, like, telling them to shut up, and, like, it's just, he's so disrespectful, and he's supposed to be like the hero of the show. Like, no, he's a jerk off. And then finally, the acting is atrocious. And I know I don't expect the Disney Channel or the Nickelodeon kid shows, I don't expect them to have really great actors. But, look, we've seen, the Disney shows actually, a lot of them are really good. I mean, we've seen so many people come out of the Disney factory. I think there's probably a reason that most of the Nickelodeon shows we see these days don't go on to bigger and better things, the actors, because they're all terrible. But even the adult actors here are bad. I think there's a reason, Carl Anthony Payne II hasn't had much work since Martin left the air 25 years ago. He's horrible here too. Everybody's bad. Everything's bad about this show. There's just not much more to say about it. Tyler Perry has given us another turkey here. Tyler Perry's Young Dylan gets an F from me. Easily one of the worst of the year. Do not recommend to anybody for any reason. All right, so that's it. Good. We've kept it under 45 minutes. I tried to do that. Sometimes it works. Usually it does not. I know next week we're going to review this Alex Rider show on IMDb that has already been renewed for season 2. And I think there's a couple other new shows on ABC to talk about. I don't know what else. But yeah, we'll get to it all. So thank you for watching. Subscribe below, please. Like the channel, all that good stuff. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.